And welcome back, fourth and long fans. It's your footy correspondent, Coach Donnie, has here back with another AFLW round review. And ladies and gentlemen, as you can see on the YouTube video, or for those eventually who will hear it on the podcast, I have a very good friend of mine, a person who's been on the podcast a couple of times, Miss Alyssa Azajian. Alyssa, how are you doing, young lady? How are things going now in Maryland?
Things are going real great. Yeah, I since last time I was on the pod, I have moved to Maryland for a new job. So having lots of fun running around museums and
Uh,
enjoying the footy that's on.
Absolutely fantastic. Keeping the grind going. That is absolutely amazing. So here we go. Let's jump into it. A round three that, again, unfortunately, COVID caused a little bit of chaos for. We did not get all of the games. We'll get six out of the seven potential games that we could have had. So let's jump right into it. I think let's get going. First game of the round sees a cracking match between the Collingwood Magpies and Geelong Cats, as the
Mm,
Collingwood Magpies get an 11-point win over the Cats 35-24. And the trend keeps continuing for me. This Cats team, they just stay competitive. They stay in a game against a team that, quite frankly, should easily beat them, and they continue to keep a game close.
yeah, I feel like there's been so much growth with Geelong, and yeah, this is their season so far. They've really been showing their strength and everything they've been working on, and it's really great to see.
Yeah, unfortunately, the 0-3 start kind of stinks, but the progression and the competitiveness of this team, I think, has been absolutely fantastic. They're going to get a win very, very soon. They're going to nip somebody. I cannot wait for that to happen. We'll move to the next game, which sees the hapless West Coast Eagles go to a red hot Adelaide Oval, and the Crows get a
Mhm.
big 42-9 win. The Crows just continuing to be one of the best teams in the
Yeah,
AFLW this year.
really. I watched this game with a bit of a bias and a bit of a side game going on in my head of who can we take next year as a Port Adelaide fan. Um, I like to eye the players and say, "Ooh, who from this South Australian team might want to jump on over to Port Adelaide." And it's such an amazing team. It's there's so many different players on there that are just they're so good.
They are a deep, deep team. So as I've said, I think this is almost kind of a last dance style of run for the Adelaide Crows, because this is the last time that this incredibly well put together footy team will play. And I'm very fascinated to see how Port handles it and who switches sides come this
Hmm.
next season. But we're not quite there yet. So we will enjoy this
No.
Crows side as we have it currently. We jump to the next one. In this, quite frankly, for the first three quarters, was one of the best games of the round, as the D's eventually get a 41-point
Hmm.
win, 64-23. But if you look at this final score, you wouldn't know the first three quarters. This Saints
Mm-mm.
team was in this game with a
Yeah.
chance to win it. And the fourth quarter, unfortunately, kind of got away from them.
Yeah, it was quite the game to watch. Um, Melbourne, yeah, really kind of brought it out in the end, but the competition and people have been talking about how like low scoring games aren't exciting, but and things like that. But then I think with AFLW, a lot of times we don't see high scoring games, but we still see very competitive play. And yeah, the Demons and St. Kilda, that just it was so good to see and watch. And St. Kilda, yeah, they kind of lost it in the fourth though.
Yeah, just I think they just ran out of steam. They were so competitive, but the D's talent, I think, eventually got the best of them into it, because they just keep rolling over so many great talents there,
Yeah.
with the Melbourne Demons. And the scary part is they're not even still 100%. They still have a few players out with COVID protocols, and
Yeah.
so we'll really have to see. But the D's, like the Crows and Collingwood, I think, are three of the teams I think that are really going to be the flag contenders. Um, The next game, in my opinion, was one I was really looking forward to because a Richmond Tigers team that I think has progressed the most since they came into the competition.
Hmm.
They're really competitive team, very talented. Step up against a Frio team that I think we all kind of know that watch AFLW. This is a good team. They just haven't been able to get over that hump in the finals. And this was a
Hmm.
cracking game. The final score, yes, is Frio wins by 30, 77-47. But again, this Tigers team, they stay competitive, they stay in the game. It just tears it shattered me seeing Harriet Corder go down with an ACL tear. Just these ACL tears just
Yeah.
really are hurting, and they're getting some of the best players in the competition, which really stinks.
Yeah. I think there's been like, how many this
Four.
season? Three,
There's been
four?
four. Yep.
Oh my gosh.
Harriet was the
It's,
fourth, unfortunately, and I think there might have been a fifth this morning. Unfortunately, I think there was another young talent for the Brisbane Lions. I think by the way she went down this morning, I think it's an ACL tear, which will be the fifth one in the first
oh,
three rounds, which is devastating for the competition, and it really does show like what's doing it. Is it purely a situation where it's isolated incidents
hmm,
that just all happen at the same time, or do we need to look into maybe changing the footwear, or maybe changing some of the way that things go? Because I know that they've done scientific studies that unfortunately the female anatomy, and again, I'm not trying to tell females how their anatomy is. I'm not, trust me. So let's not go there. Unfortunately, with their body composition, that sometimes it does put a little more strain on their knees because
hmm,
of the wider hips. So I think sometimes they really need to practice knee flexibility, and making sure that they practice stepping in certain ways to be sure that that doesn't happen. Because I know ACL tears happen a lot in the female basketball game. They happen in rugby. They
yeah,
happen in a lot of female sports. Unfortunately, ACL is a highly um, numerous injury, and it really
yeah.
stinks that that happens. And I don't, I wish I knew the way to cut them down, but I just don't, unfortunately. So,
Yeah. And I don't think anyone does. People throw around the Browns too hard because they're playing,
mhm.
and but who knows? There's so many different factors that can be. And it's especially sad to see, with AFLW because it is not a full-time professional sport that these ACL injuries don't just impact their playing, it impacts everything else in their life because they have to work or go to school or something like that and they might not be able to now and it's really rough to see. And I think that's been talked about a bit, with this last round and some of the injuries.
Yeah, and unfortunately, with the four new, with as much as you and I celebrate because our clubs are coming
Yeah.
in next season, unfortunately, this could cost a few of these players, maybe even a second season next year, with it potentially being a 12-month injury. That this potentially could cost them even next season if the season starts a little bit
Yeah.
earlier, like they had originally planned. So we'll really have to see. But a really good game again. Frio, I think they're starting to find their groove, which I like. And Richmond, honestly, they're that team that they need to be able to get a couple of wins because they're right on that cusp of potentially making the
Hmm.
finals. But unfortunately, with a result a little bit later, I'm a little bit worried that we might already see our six teams that are going to make the finals there. But we'll talk about that in just a second. We jump
Yeah.
to the next one. Another one that honestly, you look at the final score, it looks more competitive than it really was. North Melbourne beats the GWS Giants 54-27, a 27-point lead. But GWS could not score in that entire first half. And I was going there for a while watching this game going, how bad is North Melbourne going to win this game? Because GWS looked
Yeah.
anemic on offense, unfortunately.
Yeah. And I was watching this game live. And so it was like, sorry, I think it not started at like 9 something here, but I was very tired and I just kept like falling asleep throughout this game because I don't know. It was very one-sided, I think, a lot of the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
And so
Unfortunately, North Melbourne
I was
got
also just
going.
exhausted.
I know the feeling. Trust me, I know the feeling very much so.
Mhm.
Just North is just they were so good. They played so well. GWS just there was something not right about the way everything was going in that game. So that one unfortunately was a frustrating watch. And then the reason we are recording today is because little old me forgot that with the addition of the Brisbane Lions versus the Carlton Blues, that the game actually played very early this morning, and the Brisbane Lions bounced back after an ugly first game against the Adelaide Crows, and they go from bottom of the ladder to sixth place in the ladder with one game. So you got to give the Lions a round of applause with an incredible 35-point win over the Carlton Blues. And again, Brisbane showed their class, their ability, even though they've lost a couple of players. They lose two players to retirement. They lose Kate Lovekins to an ACL injury early in the year. They've got some young talent that I think this Brisbane Lion teams keep an eye on them now, because if they can get on a groove, they're going to be a tough out with some of the talent that I saw this morning. Absolutely fantastic. I'm praying and I'm really hoping that Smith's injury is not an ACL. Unfortunately, I think
Mm-hmm.
it may be, which again, I said that's another ACL tear, which really stinks. But going on the positive, man, there's some young talent on this Brisbane Lions team that I think could be dynamic as this season goes on.
Oh yeah. Talk about that
Definitely.
debutante. Um,
Mm-hmm.
oh my gosh, what a goal.
Yep. And her length and athleticism, she was everywhere the first, at least the first 10 minutes. She was absolutely everywhere. What a fantastic game. So, and that unfortunately with Gold Coast and the Brisbane the Western Bulldogs, unfortunately, were unable to play due to some COVID issues. They did not play this round, so that is going to do it for round three. Again, another unfortunately shorter round here. So I think we got to talk about it. I one of my favorite things about this round was this was Pride round, and I thought their Guernseys
Yes.
were fantastic. I think every
Mm-hmm.
single team except for the West Coast Eagles, no shade West Coast Eagles fans, but the West Coast Eagles team was the only team that did not have a specific Pride Guernsey. Not all the teams wore their Guernseys. I know GWS is going to wear theirs this round since they are going to be at home this round. But I got to ask, Alyssa, these were some fantastic Guernseys. I think they were absolutely fantastically done. And they showed not only the pride flag, but they do the transgender fight. There's so many cool initiatives that I think this does. So I got to ask, what what was your favorite Pride Guernsey?
Is this a hard question? Because yeah, there are so many great ones this year, and I think I've got to go with Carlton's. I just really like it's like a tree growing up out of it, and it's got, the rainbow colors, and then more of the flag colors up top with flowers. It's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it's a piece of art as well,
Yeah, one of
and
my
I
favorite
just
one of my
loved it.
Yeah, one of my favorite things about that is that several of the players sometimes are making some of the designs. So I absolutely love
Yeah.
that. I love the Fremantle Dockers. I thought theirs was very well
Mm,
done, very
mhm.
crisp, very clean with the white jerseys since they were on the road with the rainbow, not only on the front but also on the back of the Guernsey as well. So for me, the Frio Dockers was the team I give my nod to, but all of them are fantastic. I didn't see a bad one. I think
Mm-mm.
if these if the clubs are really on top of it, I think they sell those Guernseys, and I think they sell a lot of them because they were absolutely
Oh yeah.
fantastic. I think they would be great to have, especially considering it's another full Pride round in the women's game. So we'll jump to it. There've been a few announcements. This round is going to be, well, this round is kind of an extended round, as we kind of said. It's the festival of footy, as we see a ton of games over the
Yeah.
next 8 days. We will see 9 games over a little over a week. So I don't know about you. Let's do some tipping, because we've got 9 games to talk about, 9 games to choose who we think is going to come out victorious. Let's jump right into it. An absolutely cracking one in a little over a day sees Collingwood at home in Victoria Park facing the Frio Dockers. This is going to be a classic one, because this is a Frio Dockers
Mm-hmm.
team has a chance to get into the top part of the six making the finals, and a Collingwood team that they've lost a few injuries, but they're still really good. Who do you like in this one?
Ah, it's hard because yeah, Fremantle's coming in really strong, but I don't know. I think with Collingwood having they they have people out, but I really think some of that list is coming up, and they're getting time on the field and showing that. skill, and I gotta go Collingwood, I think.
Alrighty, I'm with you on this one. I like Collingwood too. Frio again. Their inconsistency of scoring, I think, is the one thing that might hurt them. This is a very good Collingwood
Yeah.
defense. Ruby Schleicher in the back and Livingston in the back are two stalwarts. They don't make mistakes. They don't beat themselves. The midfield, yes, they lose Bree Davy, but they're just so deep in the midfield. And then as long as Chloe Malloy and Sabrina Fredericks are up front, it's very, very hard to stop Collingwood from scoring. I'm going to tip the Pies in this one. This could be game of the round. I'm really looking forward to that one. We move to the next game, goes up to New South Wales as GWS hosts. We are crossing our fingers that the Western Bulldogs
Yeah.
actually get to play this round after 2 consecutive weeks of not being able to play. I'm This is one of those games. I'm going to tip the Western Bulldogs because I think the Bulldogs have more talent. My worry
Yeah.
is they have been off for 2 weeks. How is their fitness? How do they handle it? The first 10 minutes of the game, I think they're going to be fine. It's that latter part of the first quarter and then late in the second quarter, I think, do they get heavy legged? And if they do, can they possess the footy and maintain their fitness to be able to make it through this game? I'm going to tip the doggies, but I think this one's a tiny bit closer than it would have been if the doggies wouldn't have had 2 straight weeks off.
Yeah, I think I'm feeling the same way because they had one round basically, and then they've haven't played. So they're gonna be a bit out of practice. But after what we saw from GWS, I don't know. I don't think I can tip them
All
after
right.
this past week. I'm gonna go
Yeah.
dogs.
All righty. We go to the dogs. We go to a game. Somebody's going to get their 0 taken off in the win column as the Saint Kill the Saints take on a West Coast Eagles team that has been very, very interesting ever since they moved there. There's been a tiny bit of controversy. We'll really have to see. The way the Saints played last time, it really intrigues me. But who do you like in this one?
I think I'm going Saints for this one. Just because we've, seen them kind of building up strength as the season's gone on and showing some good efforts, and I think maybe this time they can bring it home for a win.
Yep, I'm 100% with you. I think the Saints just have a little too much again. I'm not liking the Eagles' mojo. They've got a ton of talent. They haven't gelled as
Mm-hmm.
well as I thought they might have earlier in this year. And just the fact that their coach says some of their players are passengers after a couple of weeks ago, and then a demoralizing loss at the Crows again.
Yeah.
The confidence of the Eagles is very, very, very shaky. So if the Saints can get a couple of goals early, I think they could shatter this Eagles team. Unfortunately. So that'll be a fun one. This could also be a game of the round, and I cannot wait for it because this is at a good time for both you and I think a Adelaide Crows hosting the Melbourne Demons. These are two teams I honestly have in the flying contention.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna tip the D's in this one, which is really odd, especially being at Norwood Oval. But actually, no, I forgot. I tipped Adelaide. Now that I'm going back and checking my tips that I did, I forgot. I did. It's at home. Um, the D's inconsistency in scoring. I forgot. This was how I kind of thought this through. The Crows are playing really, really well at home. They always play well at Norwood
Mm-hmm.
Oval. They're very, very difficult to beat. They just got so much depth, and as we kind of stated, this is their last hurrah. I'm going to go with
Yeah.
the Crows in this one, but I think this is another one, game of the round potentially, because you've got two really good footy teams playing each other at Norwood Oval.
Yeah, I think I'm actually gonna go the D's here. So
Okie dokie.
there you go.
The D's are strong.
They are.
I have a hard time tipping against them, but I started this last year and I'm going to stay with it. Any team that's got Aaron Phillips on it, it's really hard to tip against them. So I'm going to tip the Crows
That's
on this
true.
one. We'll
I
jump
feel
up.
like part of it might just be my Port Adelaide bias.
I
Where if
understand.
I could go either way, I'm probably not gonna go Adelaide.
The South Australian rivalry runs deep. There's nothing
Oh yeah.
wrong with that. We'll jump up to Queensland, up to Maroochydore, as the Brisbane Lions, coming off an impressive win over Carlton, take on the pesky Geelong Cats up in Maroochydore.
Mm-hmm.
Who do you got coming out this one in the Battle of the Cats?
I think it's gonna be the Lions.
All righty. I'm 100% with you on this one again. I think the
Yeah.
Cats keep it close. Like they're really good at, but I just think the Lions, what they showed this morning, they are
Yeah.
absolutely electric. They're going to be so much fun to watch. We jump back down to Melbourne at Icon Park as Carlton host the North Melbourne Roos. I have North Melbourne on this one. I think they're just a little too strong for this Carlton team. The Carlton's just been so inconsistent this year. After Darcy Vesio up front, I just don't see that they have the scoring potential to be able to stay up with North. So I'm going to tip the Roos in this one.
Yeah, I think I agree with you there. Um, I gotta go North Melbourne.
All righty. We jump to another fascinating game that I think will be very interesting is the Gold Coast Suns hosting the Richmond Tigers, a couple of young, very hungry, very talented teams in this one. Who do you have coming out with the chocolates on this one?
For this one, I'm gonna have to say Richmond.
Okay.
Um, yeah, I think I don't know. I've just liked what I've been seeing, and I think they can pull this one out.
All right. I'm with you on this one. I think Richmond is really, really solid. I think Richmond's just got a little more depth and talent in this game. And I think
Hmm.
it's just gonna catch Gold Coast is gonna keep it close just because I think Gold Coast has got that skill that I think a lot of people
Yeah.
didn't think they had, but I just don't think they have the finishing qualities against Richmond. So we jump to the two other add-on games, which will go on just after the weekend. So it's gonna be an absolutely barn burner week of footy this week as we jump to it as Collingwood host the West Coast Eagles at Victoria Park. I got the Pies in this one. As we kind of said, this is a rudderless West Coast Eagles team, and
Yeah.
the Pies coming off a very tough week. I think this is a little bit of an easier game for them. So I have Collingwood in this one.
Yeah, I think that's a good call. I agree.
And then the last game of the weekend sees the Western Bulldogs take on the Fremantle Dockers. Um, I like the Bulldogs. They're talented, but I just think Frio has a little too much that speed on the back and the speed in the
Hmm.
forward line for Frio. I think is going to give that young back line for the Western Bulldogs a little bit of trouble. I think Western stays in it just because if Bonnie Too Good and Ellie Blackburn are playing, they're going to give them a little bit of a spark. But the two
Yeah.
weeks off playing another short week is going to be very interesting to see how these two teams handle it. So I'm going to tip Frio, but I think this is a sneaky competitive game.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. I just am concerned with the dog's ability to, having missed 2 weeks of play and then having to do two games, in basically a week. I just don't know if they have the endurance for that, and so I feel pretty iffy for them going into this game,
Yeah.
especially against Fremantle. So I'm going Fremantle as well.
Yeah, a fun week. 9 games over the next basically over the span of about 5 days. So it'll be quite an
Yeah.
interesting next week of footy. So many games. I'm hoping, crossing my fingers, that every game gets played because 9 games of footy this week is absolutely fantastic for somebody that's
Yeah.
starving for footy. And the women's game is just keeps getting better and better. I think
Mhm.
these last week shows, yes, the games might not be as high as scoring, but they're a little bit shorter. And I think
Yep.
these girls are getting more and more talented. The scoring is coming. The scoring is coming. And when it gets to the level that I think it can get, these are going to be some darn good, entertaining games. And with 4 teams coming in next year, I think this competition is only going to get better. So, ladies and gentlemen,
Definitely.
I think that is going to do it for our episode. A nice, quick, hard chat about footy. Again, we love chatting footy. And again, somebody who's gotten into footy in the last couple of years, Alyssa, this has been
Hmm.
such a great chat since we connected. I don't know, did you see that I actually had a nice long conversation with a Port Adelaide fan on my channel just recently?
I did see that. Yeah.
Yeah, with my Aussie supporter series. So anybody that's out there, again, I'm doing a all off season Aussie supporter series where I sit down with all 18 clubs, an Australian who loves their club and wants to talk about it. I'm most of the way through, only a few episodes left to go. Your club is out there, so if you get a chance, take a listen. You get to hear a fellow Australian have a listen
Mm-hmm.
to their why they love their particular footy club. Alyssa, thank you again for joining me. It's always a pleasure talking footy with you.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I enjoy it as well.
Awesome, awesome. We will continue chatting, ladies and gentlemen. That will wrap up another episode in my AFLW round reviews. Keep an eye out. I have another fun guest coming from Australia next week that I cannot wait to share with you. We will see you again next week.